What's the story, Morning Glory? What is the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of The Real Housewives of Potomac, Season 7, Episode 10, Cleaning Up the Mess. So the episode starts off with Giselle and Robin. They just got done finishing up a podcast episode, and they talk about how they're going to be taking their show on the road. I've never listened to Reasonably Shady, so when we see what they do, when we see it live, hopefully it'll give me an idea of what this podcast is all about. But I've never really had any interest in listening to it because I don't think about it. I don't remember it. The only time that it comes to mind is when I'm watching The Real Housewives of Potomac, and only when they happen to mention it, that's when I'm like, oh yeah, Robin and Giselle have a podcast. Robin says that she plans to meet up with Candace to see exactly where they stand after they had that huge blowout fight on the bus when they were coming from the club in the previous episode. And so we're going to see what goes on with that a little bit later. Now, moving on to Candace. She announces that she got her Master's of Business Association from Howard University. So congratulations to Candace on that. That is no easy task. So much props to her on that. Her and Chris are planning a backyard party to celebrate her achievement, and also she tells Chris that her period is late, and she's kind of getting her hopes up a little bit, just a tiny bit, to see if she's going to be able to get pregnant. I think she said it would be nice if she got pregnant naturally, which tells me that the reason why they're going through IVF is because they're having a problem conceiving, not because she just wants to harvest her eggs for future embryos to get pregnant sometime in the future. It's because they're trying, but nothing is happening. And I don't think that she should be ashamed of that, or she should try to keep that a secret. I mean, if you're having a problem conceiving and you're at that age where you should be able to conceive, I think that she should definitely talk about it. At the end of the day, it's her business, it's her private business. But if you're going to talk about, wanting to have a baby on the show, and you're talking about the process of IVF, I think it would have been a little bit more, it would have made it a little bit more relatable if she said the fact that we're having a problem getting pregnant. But I think the way she made it seem like she's too busy to have a baby now, so she's going to have some embryos frozen for her to have a baby later. Moving on from there, Karen. So Matt is back. Matt is her assistant that we've seen previously. I'm not exactly sure what he does for Karen. I'm not exactly sure why Karen wants to bring him on camera. I have no interest in Matt, but Matt is back. And Karen is also planning to do a live show. And I'm like, a live show of what? What does that mean, Karen? Do you mean like a party? But she says she wants to do a live show. So in her confessional, the producers ask her, where did you get this idea from? And then they show a clip of Giselle telling her about how her and Robin's podcast is going to be doing a live show. But in the confessional, she says she got the idea from Wendy Williams, not at all from Giselle. Okay, girl. Moving on from there. Wendy is going to be having her kidney stones removed, I believe. Moving on from there, Robin and Candace. So we find out, so Robin and Candace, they meet up. And we see Candace is, Robin was like very emotional. She was crying. Candace was comforting her. And it was like, what the hell happened? And Robin says that her hairstylist, sister, and brother-in-law were tragically killed in an accident. So, yeah, that was pretty shocking news because we're familiar with her hairstylist. We've seen her before on the show styling Robin's hair. So that was a little bit, jarring to see. So Candace was trying to comfort her, and this made Robin realize that she needs to make sure that she's good with everybody, because life is short. You never know when your time will come, and so you want to be good with everybody. You want to be in a good space with everybody. They talk about Candace's Instagram live, and Candace tells her, out of everybody in this group, you're the one that I really vibe with. You're the one that I'm closest to, so that I would never ever talk about you. And Robin says, well, the next time, girl, you need to just be very specific on who you're referring to. No, she doesn't have to be specific on who she's referring to, Robin. If you know, you know. Okay, if you know your girl, you know your girl, and you know that your girl wouldn't talk about you unless y'all really aren't that close and y'all are just faking the funk for the cameras. But if you know your girl, you know she wasn't talking about you, because I could even figure that out, because it looked ridiculous, Robin, how you were so upset about her Instagram live, and you made it seem like, this girl was calling out your name, your first and last name, directing everything to you. And she was just talking in general. And obviously she didn't want to mention the people that she really has a problem with, because she didn't want, to start no mess with them. So she was just talking in generalities. And Robin, she wasn't referring to you. So girl, stop. So moving on from there, Mia's having a grand opening of another, the Joint Chiropractic clinic or office. And they have a whole bunch across the country. I lost count with how many she said that they have. Some of them they still own and operate. Others they're just collecting the royalties from. I guess they're like franchises. And the only people that attended that we were familiar with were Karen and Jacqueline. I don't know if those were the only ones that she invited or those are the only ones that showed up, but it was just Karen and Jacqueline there. And unfortunately, even her own mom couldn't make it. This show has a lot of people that are just not there for their loved ones. Moving on to Ashley. Ashley goes to see her Uncle Lump, and she tells him about the argument that she had with Michael before she left the house. She wanted to take both kids with her to Uncle Lump's house, but Michael would only let her take the youngest one, and he wanted the older child to stay with him. He wanted Dean to stay with him. So they started arguing about that. And Michael was, telling her how she's a bad planner and she needs to make better plans in the future. So they're going back and forth and arguing. And she tells her uncle and her uncle's wife that they were like yelling at each other to the point where her son Dean was shouting at them to stop. And so her uncle's wife tells her, you cannot be having these kind of arguments in front of your children. It's affecting them. And so then Ashley does this whole thing about, she starts talking about how she's so afraid of living without Michael and being alone. She just can't fathom herself being in a house with just her and her two children. And then she tries to she was trying so hard to squeeze out some tears to create this emotional scene where we're supposed to be like, oh my God, look at this poor woman. She's about to be a single mom because her husband's going to leave her high and dry. Girl, it was fake. Okay, you're trying to squeeze some tears out. Nobody's buying it. Not a single tear came out. Your eyes were just as dry as the Sahara Desert. And we know that you don't feel no kind of way about moving on without Michael, because Michael was the biggest trick of all. He was your biggest trick. It was just all for money. It was just all for business. You did what you had to do. Okay, you did what you had to do, and now you're collecting on your investment. That's all that is. So Ashley misses with the whole, oh my God, what am I going to do without Michael? And I'm so used to him supporting. Girl, nobody buys that. You're going to get a good chunk of change out of this. If nothing else, you're on a successful show. You're getting money from that. You're going to have a whole bunch of endorsement deals and a whole lot of stuff going on, Ashley. So please please, Ashley, do not put yourself like you want us to look at you like the average single parent in America. Okay. The average woman who is married to a man that was, financially supportive or whatever the hell, and now has to make it on her own, who really, 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 truly has to make it on her own, and is not on a successful television show, and is not getting a whole bunch of endorsement deals. Stop it, Ashley. You're not that girl. So moving on from there, Candace. She's picking up her mom from the airport. She tells her mom their period is late, and so her mom also gets excited about the possibility of Candace being pregnant. Giselle, she's having the birthday party for her twin girls. I don't remember really much that happened, except that Jamal was there and They took a whole bunch of pictures together, and she was about to give a speech, and she called Jamal, or Jamal was about to give a speech, and she called Jamal her baby daddy, and whatever. Let's move on. Candace. So it's the day of her party. That morning, Candace took a pregnancy test, but unfortunately, it was negative. And, she was disappointed, but she said that she was also relieved because now they can move forward with their second round of IVF. Karen then asks Robin, what is going on with your wedding? How far have you gotten? What are your plans for your wedding? And Robin says that it's going to be a private wedding with just the four of them. I'm assuming her, Juan, and their two children. Nobody's invited. Of course not, because she doesn't want to be embarrassed in case Juan doesn't show up, because Juan never shows up to anything that Robin shows up to. So who knows if he's going to show up to his own wedding. But she says it's going to be a very small affair, just the four of them. In other words, courthouse wedding, something that's extremely low budget within Robin's budget. Because when has Robin really showed out with the funds, with money? Hardly ever, other than the Bravo sponsored trip that she was a host of. I can't think of any time where Robin just really went all out on any kind of event or party or anything where, she paid for out of her own pocket. I can't think of anything. Even I don't even remember her throwing any of her kids a birthday party. I just can't think of anything. So no wonder the wedding is going to be extremely low budget. Her engagement party was, pretty grand, but then we're going to have like a small intimate wedding with just the four of y'all and like nobody else is invited. Okay, I'm not seeing anything at all, actually. So, from there on, Wendy comes in to check on Robin, and she wants to have a conversation with Robin. And because at the club in the previous episode, evidently Robin and Wendy were getting along really, really well, but it was because they were all drunk out of their mind. So Wendy wants to make sure that they're good. And because they were drunk, because at the parts that they showed us, the clips that they showed us of them in the club in the previous episode, Wendy and Robin were like hugging up on each other. Wendy was telling Robin, I love you. And Wendy says that, it was because she had a lot of liquid courage. And she says something about how a drunk mind speaks a sober heart. So whatever she said to Robin in that moment, it was really coming from her heart because, all of her inhibitions were down because she was drunk, and so she was really speaking from the heart. And so then Robin says, well, why did you decide to have that type of conversation when nobody else is around to witness it? Because normally you always want to act like you have to win the debate, you have to win the argument when there is an audience. And Wendy said that in that moment she didn't want what they had to be completely gone, and she did apologize to Robin and said that she was really sorry for hurting Robin's feelings. And then she kind of demanded Robin to apologize to her, and so Robin was like, girl, I already did. I've already apologized to you. Why would I have to do it again? But Wendy insisted, and Robin relented, and so Robin went ahead and apologized. Candace then corners Karen. And so now Candace has to do a whole apology to Karen. And she tells Karen, look, girl, I just remembered, all the stuff that Ashley said that I had said about you and Ray and you being out on these streets, running around with other men. I kind of remember that I actually did say that. But we were drunk. Okay. We were drunk, and I'm sorry for saying that, blah, 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 blah. And Karen accepted the apology. And if I was Karen, I would have been, but then Karen did say, I'm gonna accept her apology, but I'm gonna keep my good eye on her because, come on now. What about what Wendy said? How, what did she say? How a drunk mind speaks a sober heart. So if we're going to go with that, then that means that what Candace said about Karen, that's exactly what Candace meant, that she does see Karen as a hussy, for real. And what I want to know is, Karen, are you going to give Sharice the same kind of grace that you gave Candace? Because Sharice said the same exact thing. Maybe Sharice was a little bit more specific about it, and she wasn't drunk at the reunion, however many years ago, when she said that you and old Blue Eyes were doing whatever. But Candace is accusing you of the same thing, basically being unfaithful to Ray. So why are you still giving Sharice the cold shoulder, but it's all good in the hood with Candace? Ray then corners Chris. Ray corners Chris, and Ray tells Chris, oh, I heard about what went down between you and Giselle and all the things that Giselle has been saying. So why don't you just apologize to Giselle? And Chris was like, apologize for what? And Ray says, for making her feel uncomfortable. And Chris says, how she feels is how she felt. If she says she was uncomfortable, then she was uncomfortable. But it had nothing to do with me. Okay, so I have nothing to apologize for. And so it's around this time that Candace is going to give a speech to about whatever, I guess her MBA. She's about to give her speech, congratulate or thank all the people that helped her get to where she's at, so on and so forth. And at this point, Chris actually leaves the house and he goes to sit outside because he's so pissed off at Ray for trying to guilt him into apologizing to Giselle when he hasn't done anything. So he's like really fired up about that. Candace goes on with her speech. Of course, she cries because that's what she does. She cried about 10 times in this episode. Now, let's get back to Wendy and Robin. I'm assuming that Wendy was apologizing for talking about how Robin and Juan don't have a real relationship, which till this day, I don't understand why she has to apologize for that, because you were speaking facts. Okay, they don't have a real like romantic, we're about to get married type of relationship. They're just homies. It's like a roommate relationship, or maybe it's like a landlord-tenant relationship. They're just homies. Like I said, I don't see any chemistry at all between Robin and Juan. They've been together for upteenth years. Number one, why get married? If whatever y'all been doing so far has been working all of these years, why get married? Because it seems like this whole wedding thing is bringing a whole lot more stress than anything else, because they got to get over the hurdle of the prenup. They're going to have some small affair where nobody's going to be invited at. So she's going to get a lot of flack about that. She's going to have to constantly explain to everybody why they decided to have a very small affair. I mean, you wanted everybody and their mom was at the engagement party, but then nobody is invited to the wedding. I don't understand that. And if you don't want to have like a big grand wedding and do all of this and all of that, girl, why are you on a reality TV show? If you're going to be on a reality TV show, especially a show that is where you're supposed to exude wealth, why are you on this TV show then? If you're going to constantly be doing low budget, secretive things, why are you on a TV show? Maybe they'll change their mind. But I didn't think that Wendy should have apologized to Robin. I really don't think so. Because all she said, it was a fake relationship. Because Robin and Juan are constantly playing games with everybody. Are we going to be engaged? Or are we not? Are we going to get married? Or are we not? We're going to get married, but we don't want nobody there. Juan does not show up to anything that Robin has to attend. He is the least seen husband of all, but I think this season Michael takes the cake. Michael is over Real Housewives of Potomac, Bravo, Andy Cohen, all of that. He is over it. And Juan is a very close second. I just don't understand these people. Your wife is on a television show. I guess it's his right. His prerogative if he doesn't want to show up to anything. But it looks very, very fishy. It looks very suspect. So they're going to get married, and I'm pretty sure there's going to be absolutely no cameras there. We're just going to have to take their word for it that they got married, and it is what it is. But Wendy, you didn't have to apologize. You didn't say anything wrong. But I guess if the words that you said caused pain and turmoil within Robin, then I guess as a human being, you'll have to say you're sorry. But we'll just see how long this will last, because Robin was extremely triggered by Wendy saying that, calling out her relationship as fake. Robin was so triggered by that. But anyways, we shall see how long all of this kumbaya will last amongst everybody. Thank you so much for joining me in this review. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, don't forget to rate the video. If you like this content, go ahead and subscribe, and I will definitely talk to you later. Bye.